Estenig,
Here.
Fernandez,
Here.
Hewitt,
Here.
Jerns,
Here.
Kessinger,
Here.
Leonard,
Here.
Lewis,
Here.
Lockwood,
Here.
McCollum, here, Paulson,
Here.
Quigley,
Here.
Russ,
Here.
Seekman, here, Tween, here, you,
Here.
Van Ruler, here, Witt. Okay. We have.
All right, everyone get a chance to look at the agenda. Any changes? See none, agenda's approved, unanimous consent. Everyone get a chance to look at the minutes. Any issues? See none, minutes from last week are approved unanimously.
Hello.
All right, moving on to open floor guests. We have ITS, we have Brian Schumacher, and are you here on the same issue, Dr. Spindle?
Yeah, I'm just here with you.
Okay. You have the floor.
All right. Hi, guys. Thanks for inviting me. I am Brian Schumacher, Director of ITS. Been here since way before all of you were born. Went to school here, graduated from here. Good job, guys. So I just want to take a few minutes to kind of explain, A, what's going on with Wi-Fi around campus, and B, where we're moving with Wi-Fi on campus, okay? If you have any questions during this, ask me right away. You can interrupt me as much as you want. I'm going to give you a really short, geeky introduction of how the networks work on campus, because you kind of need to know this. Okay, we have two internet connections that come from off campus. We have one called I1, Internet 1. It's a 5 gig connection. And then we have the big boy, Internet 2, which is a 100 gig connection. Okay, all of the universities in the state of South Dakota got on this 100 gig read backbone in the past couple of years. Why is that important? Well, it depends on what you're accessing, where that data goes. Okay, let's say you're on Netflix, right? All you people trying to watch all the movies on Netflix goes across I1. That's a 5 gig connection, okay? However, you're on Google getting to your email or Google Drive, that's on I2. That's on that 100 gig network. Either way, what we are seeing right now is neither one of them are pegged. We're not even close, okay? I1, that 5 gig, we're seeing somewhere between 50% and 60% usage in a day, okay? That's right where we want to be. We don't want to be spending money bumping that way up when we're not going to be using it, okay? So what you're seeing, if you're seeing Wi-Fi issues, is not a bandwidth issue. It is not our connection to the world. It's what's going on campus. Okay, so now you understand I1, I2. Okay, now let's move over to Wi-Fi. Now we have two different, we'll call it versions of Wi-Fi on campus. There's the open connection, the OPN, okay? All of your cell phones, I'm sure, are connecting to that as we speak, okay? And then there's the WPA, and that's our internal secure network. The only people who get to connect to that are people walking around with one of those laptops that is supplied by the school. You bring your own laptop from home, you get to connect to open, okay? You don't get to be on our internal network. That decision was made a long time ago. We want to segregate that traffic off. The reason that's important to you is WPA has priority. Okay, if professors are doing Zoom classes, we need to make sure their traffic doesn't get interrupted by somebody watching Netflix in the dorms. Okay, does that make sense? How does all this stuff play together? Well, in August, we threw up $150,000, we'll call it Wi-Fi controller, okay? What it does, we have roughly 300 access points on the campus, and then another 300 access points in the dorms. What that controller does is talks to all these access points and says, okay, I need you to communicate with this machine, blah, 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 okay? Everything was just fine until all you students came back. We tried to test it. We threw as many laptops on it as we can, but we can throw what? 50 laptops on that connection and try to test it and see if we're going to see any issues. We didn't see any issues until all of you started coming back with all of your devices, and so that's when we started seeing some hiccups, right? But we still didn't know we had a problem. So about, we'll say 2 weeks ago, it really started getting bad. Some of the buildings, mostly on-campus buildings, not dorms, would just drop connections. We couldn't figure out why that was. Well, literally yesterday, they hooked up sniffers. We finally figured out that the open network was bleeding into the WPA network and vice versa. So that data that should have never crossed those boundaries was crossing those boundaries. Okay? Long story short, they figured it out. They killed that yesterday. So now things should be improving drastically for Wi-Fi on campus. Okay? We're still doing some minor tweaks, but that was a huge issue, huge. So if you still see crazy stuff going on, we need to know. Because right now, from what we're seeing from our desks, is things are working like we think they should, okay? That doesn't mean we know everything, so if you're in class and it's like my connections is dropping, we have that Wi-Fi form that you can go and fill out and say, I was in this class at this time in this building, this is what's happening. What that form does for us, just so you guys know, we're not going to instantly email you back and be in communication with you. It is so we know, okay, we got 4 issues from this room in this building. We can send someone out there with some equipment and see if we don't have a strong enough signal, or if we need another access point, that kind of stuff. So please use that form. I mean, yeah, these past couple weeks, we got hundreds of messages that had no information in them because people were upset, and I get it, right? But please give us as much information as you can. If you fill out one of those forms, it will only help us solve that problem quicker. Okay, we hope Wi-Fi is much better from today moving forward. So now what's our goal, right? Where are we headed with Wi-Fi on campus? So we spend somewhere around, we'll say $70,000 to $80,000 per year in maintenance, just on the campus's Wi-Fi. Dorms also has their own funds that handle upgrading the dorm Wi-Fi, okay? Each access point is roughly $1,000. So our goal this year with the funds we have is to upgrade somewhere between 2 and 3 buildings to the new 6E standard. For those of you who care, there is a new Wi-Fi standard coming out. And why do you care? Because it will actually open up another frequency. And that's really big because, as you know, everything has Wi-Fi. Watches these days, everything has Wi-Fi. We ran out of space. We ran out of frequency space. Okay? So everybody is competing for these channels. And now with 6E, we can actually open up new channels, which should keep some of the interference down. Okay? Probably not going to solve all the world's problems, but it's sure going to help. So our goal is to get, let's say, 70 new access points. Problem is 6E is so new that the company who provides our hardware, they haven't even released a model yet. That model's not supposed to be released until December. Our hope is we can get them in, get them tested, order some, and get them in place. It's probably going to be summer. Sometime in that time frame is what we're thinking, if we can get them in time. So over the years, we will swap out all this older hardware and move to the 6E, which still handles all the old stuff that we're used to. The other problem is none of your laptops have Wi-Fi 6E in them, no matter how new they are. That hasn't come out yet from Lenovo yet. So that, we're hoping, is next year's batch of laptops will be able to handle that. So it's all coming together in a good time frame. So I think we're going to be fine. We'll just have to wait and see how this all plays out. Last thing I want to say, and I think this is for your group, or a bigger group of students. a lot of the problems we're seeing in the dorms is not necessarily because of our access points. The problems in the dorms, a long time ago, many presidents ago, we decided we were going to leave our dorms as open as we can. We're going to allow our students to do whatever they want to do. If they want to set up a server, they set up a server. If they want to create a network, they create a network. Okay? With that, we allowed them to have routers in their rooms. Back then, you couldn't go down to Walmart and buy a Wi-Fi router. You could get a router, but it didn't have Wi-Fi. Well then, a few students over the years started bringing in Wi-Fi routers. Okay? And now many students have Wi-Fi routers in their dorm rooms. Why is that a problem? Because of those frequencies. There's only 2 frequencies, okay? We're fighting for them. All those access points are fighting, all the personal access points are fighting for them. And there's only so many channels to go around. So I promise you, the access points over in the dorms are colliding with ours. So it's basically whichever access point is screaming the loudest is trying to get their data through to that person. And it's all interference all over. Over in Surbeck, over in the dorms. There is really only one solution to that. It's not a solution I like, but there is no way around it, is to ban personal access points. I think that's a discussion that you guys should have over the next, 4-6 months. See how bad of a problem it is, and maybe students can live with that. There used to be a benefit for them having their own personal access point. Anymore, there's not. We have open in all the dorms, so anyone can connect to open. WPA is in all the dorms, so there's really no need to have your own access point, although you get to control it, so I get the draw there, but I think that is really going to have to be discussed at some level, and it's got to come from students, right?
So if the personal access points are gone, what will it be like over there?
So yeah, so then it would look like a building on campus. It would look like a classroom building, right? The only things you're going to see is WPA and OPN, right? Your phones connect to OPN, your laptop connects to WPA. Instead of right now where you see 50 different access points, all of them are locked down because they're student personal access points, but you see 50 of them you can choose from over there, which are all competing for that bandwidth. So the upside to that is we reduce the interference on all those frequencies tremendously if we lock that down, okay? Once again, it's going to be a very tough conversation for the student body. If this were to happen, I would say it should happen on a summer break, right? The new students coming in realize we can't have personal access points. We can't pull them away now. Students are obviously using them, but I think over a summer break, we could, if you guys decide that's the route we want to go, we could make that call, okay? It's only going to help. I can tell you that much. We don't know how much. We can't tell how much they're interfering with what we have out there. We do know they're interfering. So I can only tell you it's going to help with the speeds they can get. It's going to be a benefit other than we're taking something away from the students in the dorm. So
Brian, I think you told me that we're about the only university in the country that has this?
I bet I can count on, for sure, 10 fingers who allows personal access points in dorms, right? The dorm rooms, if you were in an apartment, it's a little bit different, right? If we had apartment-sized rooms and you have a little bit of space, you can all have an access point in an apartment, if it's a 1, 2, 3 bedroom apartment, because there's enough space so you're not interfering with the next access point, okay? Our access points are room to room. We literally have access points in the room, so if you have another access point in there, you're clouding our signal. Yes?
So do the personal routers only cause problems in the freshman dorms because of the size, or is it in
All dorms.
All?
All dorms, yep.
Including Rocker?
No.
So, okay, I didn't talk about Rocker, and I should. So Rocker 1 and 2 are not our buildings. They're not School of Mines buildings, which means ITS does not have any networking equipment in there. That's all provided by an outside company. So those are all handled separately. And as they're usually bigger rooms, so it should be a lot better to have a personal access point in those rooms. And you would really need that in order to connect. So that's kind of my, 10-minute spiel. I don't want to waste time, but I want everybody to understand that Wi-Fi should be good, yes.
So I guess I have two questions. For one, what policy, so it would just be university policy change for this, correct?
We have no policy right now. We
So
would
there's
have
no
to
policy.
either generate a policy or a procedure.
Second, what would enforcement of this policy look like?
Exactly. Great questions, because it is very, very hard for us technically to tell. We can see a signal, right? We know that there's this access point called Brian out there. We can see that signal. We have no idea to tell where that access point lives, what dorm room, what floor. It's almost going to have to be a student policing thing, right? Where students say, hey, my buddy's got this access point. We got to shut it down because it's interfering with the school's access points. We can go through a building and say, yep, we know these exist. We just can't say he owns one of them. So it's going to be difficult. That first year is going to be difficult. I think once we would get through that year, people would see, okay, this makes total sense. It's just getting through that first year.
So, like, with the enforcement, what's your idea of, so we're supposed to, police it as students, but, is there a punishment if we get caught with it?
I don't know, is there a punishment if they get caught?
Right person, no. I don't, yeah, that would be interesting, and I don't know if we could include it on, we have a list of things that aren't allowed and that they don't allow in the pulse now. I assume that the responsibility would be on senior staff and things to make sure they're going. Again, consequences,
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's all probably under conduct of some form. But hopefully we wouldn't hit them. But I think Brian said, it will take some time probably to transition.
Do you know how other Puerto Rican schools have their policy structure? Is that something you guys be able to look into?
Yeah, for sure, we could look into, and if we're even thinking about going down this road, I will be doing a lot of research to see what the other universities are doing. So we can, jump on board, follow their policy where it makes sense for our campus. Yep. Any other ideas? Yes, Pickle.
Senator, all the time.
I have an exchange student friend who doesn't have a laptop, obviously, that would connect to the protected network.
Mhm.
So he's operating with the open network, and he's complaining of issues in the library. What do you think that would be due to?
That was what we
Okay.
just fixed yesterday. Yep. And there were, library was one of them that was having a lot of issues. Civil mechanical classroom building. So yes, hopefully life is going to be way better for everyone now. Yep. Yeah.
Senator Becker.
I'm drowning when it comes to tech stuff. But would personal hotspots that are like cellular hotspots, those operate in the same bands? Don't
They do operate in the same bands and they would cause interference.
Yeah, I don't really. Yeah.
I don't know how many people use them, right? And I don't know why you would, unless you're trying to separate your traffic from the school. So it would, just be costing you money, but
Yeah.
it would cause interference just like a personal access
Okay.
point.
Senator Leonard.
I can comment on that. People in the Wi-Fi in buildings aren't working, use their personal hotspots.
No, I get that.
So
Yep.
It could be a bit of time before that habit stops.
Yep.
Because when I've been in the classroom building, I don't even try the internet. I haven't tried the internet for the last month. I just go out on the hotspot.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, yep.
Senator Lockwood.
Oh, yeah.
So another experience that I saw with people using their own hotspots is due to like Google specifically, like if they wanted to sign into their personal account, they have to be under the same Wi-Fi because the WPA is different from the open, obviously, so you can't sign into your account if you're in the WPA with your phone being connected in your Gmail in the open one. So like some people do hotspots because they can't sign into their own personal accounts.
They should stop down and talk to us because I don't know why that would be the case.
It's Google's stupid security settings. In order to log in to the account, you have to be on the same network to verify that it's you. It's dumb.
Let me check into that. Let me find out what's going on with that because that should not be the case. I mean, in the whole scheme of things, you are going out the same network. Whether, I will make a note and check into that. Yep.
And another point is that like there's an idea of like public involvement. So like if people, I haven't heard anyone be like really aware of this issue with access points. So is there like any like campaigning, or not campaigning, or like just informing like the students in the dorms that like this being an issue? Because like to see issues to arise if it's like, oh, we just ban them all together like instantly.
So that's, he's bringing it to us, and we'll be working on that. So we're looking at having an open forum later this year, I think in November, encompassing kind of a myriad of issues, so like internet, parking, security, a lot of the ad hoc committee stuff, either November or January, kind of when I was looking to have it. So we'll make sure to address that. I'll make sure it goes out transparent email. And that's also where we fit in, especially for everyone living sophomore and freshman dorms. Please start talking to people kind of on your floors and kind of see what they, kind of the pros and cons, I guess. Other than just they installed the network to try to get better internet and in the process made it worse. Any other questions for?
I have a question that's not completely Wi-Fi related, but at one point you mentioned you guys will be working on a shipment to do 60 laptops from Lenovo at some point. Will there ever be a chance for students to have input on what model of laptops the school purchases next? Because I know a major complaint at the moment is lack of touchscreens on the latest models. And I was wondering if that could be student input.
Absolutely. So we would welcome student input on that, right? So here's the problem, right? Logistically, it's nearly impossible for us to have two models in 1 year because, you know, that table might want touchscreens, that table might want to be able to do 3D modeling, and those two are not going to jive. So we would have no idea how many of which one to order, but if the student body as a whole said, let's move back to touchscreens, we're okay if we drop a little bit of performance, if we can have our pens back. I mean, we're all for that. So yes.
So I know GSU, they have two models because they have the tablet PC program for most students, and then for computer science students that opt into it, they have a workstation option. Is there any consideration for that for our campus?
If we change how we do it,